Hello there, Steve here in Sydney of the lay gnosis website truebluehealer.com, where in just 20 minutes you can get immediate physical evidence of your divine spark activation, which will be followed by, in about a week, some vivid messaging dreams, and later on an internal mentoring voice. And one of the most spectacular utilities that comes with it, bundled, is that you'll be getting some keywords for you and your personal life to prosper. You'll be getting some keywords, key phrases, key terms, literally pasted into your mind's eye. That's stuff that you need to know, that you could even be completely unaware of, that you need to know. And that all comes with lay gnosis at truebluehealer.com, and it's activated in about 20 minutes. It's all free, and all of your questions will be answered. I can only commend it to you, as I've said many, many times. It's a sleigh ride through a magic forest, and each journey is unique for you. So I don't want to tell you too much about it, or I'll be robbing you. Okay? So layman's gnosis at truebluehealer.com, just 20 minutes of your time, and it's all free and all questions answered. I want to talk today about the crisis that England is in, the bastion of free speech and democracy and civilised behaviours, where disputes are settled by debate and discussion and the rule of law is set, and civilised people agree to abide by the law, and that's what made Europe great. England leading the way, numerous nations copying them, and it's really a tribute to the quality of the British people that emerged out of British history. And they are worth looking after, just like a species of rhino or Bengal tiger. I think the white breed of people have a lot going for them. They've produced a lot. They've elevated the living standards of the planet dramatically, and will continue to do so, and they are best encouraged to continue doing that. However, it's sort of like Camelot, where something evil comes along to ruin the whole show, and there's been some Bolshevik infiltrators which have imported behaviour that delights them, that is basically civil war, into England. And this may surprise you. The Civil War has already begun. It's the anniversary date of 1917, have you noticed? 100 years. And the Civil War has begun with 1 million rapes, quietly kept under wraps, exactly as was the destruction of the Romanov family in 1917. The Tsar's family were butchered to the last individual. Remember that? Quietly done, sulfuric acid poured on the bodies, and they're all buried in a secret place. Well, that's how the rapes have been carried out, sort of surreptitiously covered up for as long as possible. And now that it's out in the open, brought to the fore by none other than Tommy Robinson, and he's been slammed into jail to try and divert people with a minor injustice from the massive crime committed by the British establishment. Now, Mr. Weston talks about it very eloquently, sums it up comprehensively when he says the whole British establishment is enabling the million rapes, from social workers up through MPs, police commissioners, right up to the Queen practically, and certainly both houses of Parliament, both sides of politics. They've all tried the best they can to hide with the communists the rape of 1 million girls or something, or 1 million instances of rape, estimated by a policeman, we can believe, many years on the force. Now, once again, I've done this before in short form. I'm going to give you a metaphor so you can get your head quickly round this situation where there's been 1 million instances of rape covered up by the entire regime of government, from social workers up to the Queen. And that is that some people just can't help their own behaviour. It's habitual. In case you don't know, 80% of our behaviour is genetic. Even your political beliefs are genetic. Did you know that? It's been found in identical twin studies. But a very easy example to get your head around is the sheepdog, so inbred after many generations of being bred that way to serve man herding sheep, that they round up children too. You can't stop them rounding up children. Anything moving gets rounded up, remember? They run round one side of the group and they nip somebody's ankle. They run round the other side, barking, barking, barking. And you notice they're actually herding the children toward the goalposts or the gate or the next paddock or some opening that somehow the dog has perceived, and the dog thinks that everyone's got to go through that opening, you see. So charming and endearing is the dog's behaviour. We laugh at it. The children find it very amusing. And it's completely harmless. That's the good news. There's a couple of observations we can make about the sheepdog's behaviour. He doesn't even know that they're sheep, or they're not sheep. He doesn't know that. So he's rounding them up anyway, just in case. And no one's asked him to round up the children. The children don't need to be rounded up, and they haven't asked to be rounded up either. But the sheepdog just goes along rounding them up anyway, whether they need it or not. Wherever this sheepdog goes, he will round up people in groups, you see. Now, you've seen border collies doing this. It's marvellous to watch, endearing to watch. And it's completely harmless and amusing. But what do you do when breeds of people inbreed themselves over thousands of years and continue the same behaviour wherever they go, so that they round up groups of humans and corral them into identity politics, corral them into going through hoops, through gates, into different paddocks? What do you do if this group organises a special rape paddock for all the young girls out of the herd? That's what these people are doing. They're called Bolsheviks. They're very proud about their inbreeding. Wherever they go, they foment a revolution. Look it up on the internet. You'll see that Bolsheviks brought us the bloodiest century in human history, namely the 20th century, where hundreds of millions of people died by, first of all, being corralled into groups by the natural sheepdog behaviour, the revolutionary behaviour of Bolshevik people. So, what could you do to stop the dog rounding up children? Well, you could tie it up on a leash, but you know that he's going to be intently watching the children all the time, and if he ever gets off the leash, he'll be back in business doing his wonderfully amusing, endearing activity. But the Bolsheviks, you might be able to put them on a leash. I don't think you could. They do a lot more dangerous stuff, and they kill hundreds of millions of people. So what can you do? The problem is really in the DNA of the sheepdog and the DNA of the Bolsheviks that they're so proud of. It's got to be stopped from propagating and being allowed to be in so many strategic places where these self-appointed sheepdog type people decide they're in charge. I don't know why they take it upon themselves, but that's what sheepdogs do too. It's amusing when a sheepdog does it, but it's not so funny when breeds of humans do it and work in groups of sheepdogs, rounding up populations that do not need to be administered by force at all. Mr. Weston did note that the British police and the British judicial system amazingly takes all of its political correct advice from outside NGOs, like seemingly think tanks, which are all thinly disguised Bolshevik bodies of people. That is, I would imagine you might be able to score a membership there, go there and pay dues, and you could pay weekly, monthly, annual dues or something to speed up the Holocaust of your own race. You could do that. I'm talking to British white people right now. You could do that, and you could learn their ways and possibly find a way to infiltrate the organisation and take it over, change the executive, change the direction of the organisation, that sort of thing. But I would suspect these communist organisations are just think tanks which consist of maybe 6 or 8 individuals sitting behind mahogany desks. So, in light of the war already being started against you, dear English people, can I suggest that you could pay some kind of a visit to these communist think tanks? And you might try, I know you might try, I don't wish to make too light of this, but you could try perhaps to these die-hard inbred Bolsheviks, you might try using sarcasm and dramatic irony, not to make too light of it, I'm repeating that. You could then, if that doesn't work, to these inbred Bolsheviks that just kill millions of people and rub their hands with delight and say, well, 200 million wasn't enough last century, now we're trying for 1 billion, right? In response to that, you can respond with perhaps tea and crumpets, escalate to tea and crumpets, right? And I'm sure the Bolsheviks will sit there listening to you, and they're going to come back at you with some pseudo-intellectual Marxist nonsense, that sort of thing. And really, it's just their genes talking to lie to you to get you out of the room. And yes, thanks for coming. The crumpets were lovely. I enjoyed the tea, and we'll stop doing it now. If you believe that, you'll believe anything. So I do suggest you get to know these people, find out who they are, and I suggest you visit them in their homes for later tea and crumpets and further discussions about the very existence of the British white race.